Ladies and gentlemen, we are bringing the United States of America back, and it's starting right here in the great state of Missouri.
That was J.D. Vance in our very own Kansas City, Missouri yesterday. I'm Stephanie Bell, joined by the lovely Jennifer Bukowski, who was there in Kansas City yesterday. Will talk to us a little bit about that. John, did you have to row your boat into the studio this morning?
Just about. Man, oh man, we had, a lot of rain all across Missouri and tornado warnings up in the Kansas City area. And also, yes, we even have some places with some flash flood warnings till later on today.
We have a high percentage, like per capita rain gauges for Wake Up Missouri listeners. If you want to tell us your totals, let us know. But it's wet out there, folks. But I think I checked the weekend forecast and it's looking better than it was yesterday, so I am still crossing my fingers for a beautiful Memorial Day weekend. But it was
this week is not going to be.
I know,
so nice.
But
it
it was
was indoor pickleball this week. It's looking like
indoor pickleball. I like that. Jen is already dressed for her pickleball match today. But yesterday, I assume you were in business attire as you got to greet and meet the Vice President of the United States. Talk to us about Kansas City, about who was there.
This was kind of pulled together last minute. I didn't find out about it until Friday that he was coming to town, and it was super exciting. I got to go to a round table where I interacted one-on-one with him, and then sat with like 14 other people and got to have a conversation. And I brought up my favorite subject, the Chinese spy balloon.
Yes.
And asked him about Thucydides' trap. And how China, Xi Jinping at the summit last week opened up his remarks talking about Thucydides' trap, which is this concept that in the course of human history, when there's been an existing power and a rising power, we've gone to war 12 out of 16 times. And Xi Jinping said, basically, Taiwan is their trigger for the Thucydides trap. And I said, I have 2 teenage sons. I worry about war. And
yeah.
JD thinks that the relationship between Trump and Xi Jinping is good, that the summit went well, but he's like the most, of all the world leaders, he's probably the best one, the one that doesn't get rattled by the Trump, the one that stays on message. And they have made it very clear about Taiwan being important to them. They see it as part of their homeland. And so we're gonna have to be careful not to mess around too much with Taiwan because, I think the Chinese are basically insinuating they'll go to war if we do.
Did he say anything about Cuba with all of the revelations over the last couple days?
No one asked about that. People were asking very specific boutique questions. I was the only one with a general question, except someone did ask him. Kansas City wants the 2032 convention apparently.
Oh,
and they're in a bidding thing for that.
So cool.
Yeah. So. I didn't know that. I thought it went to Battleground States, but do you know where it is next time? I can't believe this.
Where?
Houston in July.
Oh, that's terrible.
No one wants to be in Houston in July. How the hell did they win that bid?
Isn't that why we went to Milwaukee?
Normally it goes to Battlegrounds.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was in Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so anyhow, it was pretty cool. He was so charismatic, so informed, no matter how boutique of a specific query he was getting, handled it beautifully. So it was cool to get to see him so close up. And you feel like you already know him because you see him on TV and I've read and listened to Hillbilly Elegy. But it was a neat experience.
Well, and ultimately his big speech was at a manufacturing plant. I never saw which one. Where was he at exactly?
Millbank.
Okay. And the speech was about workers. He went on to say, we decided to put American businesses and most importantly, American workers first. And he had some of the workers staged behind him with signs. But
the campaign was like, we want some real Americans. I'm like, what do they mean by that? They want some of us to dress in Carhartt or what do they mean? Real. Well, regular Americans. I guess. But
you came to the right
was business attire. So
yeah,
I wore that cute pink skirt suit I just got.
Well, they came to the right place if they want some regular Americans here in Missouri. We sure have a lot of those. But the question for me is that message hitting? Can you talk about America first and putting businesses first when the economy seems to be while the markets are really good, the everyday economy for most, working Americans is tough right now.
Yeah, with inflation going back,
it was
oil
also
prices high.
Yeah, I noticed it was also a very seemingly political event. Of course, we have these congressional races going on, and so
actually, they made it. You had to be an office holder to speak.
Okay.
And there was some confusion at first. They wanted me to. I thought I was being asked to speak as vice chair of the party, but no, it was only office holders, and it had to be an apolitical message. Apparently,
Sure,
just about policy, not winning elections.
Well, I would say on Twitter, folks were trying to make it a political event, saying, I'm here with, at the JD Vance. I think everybody that's running for Congress and certainly some of our sitting Congress people I saw on Twitter, look, I'm hanging out with my friend JD. Everyone is angling.
Yeah, Schmidt's actually friends with him. As JD was telling us, I'm writing back to D.C. with Schmidt. Like, it's clear they're buddies.
That would be so fun. That's what we need to do. Get a plane ride with Eric Schmidt and J.D. Vance. I'm sure that is
Get to ride on Air Force, too, with J.D. Vance. Hey, I mean, Schmidt is living his best life. He's golfing at Mar-a-Lago all the time. Apparently, his handicap is pretty low at this point.
3 point something
That's
handicap.
nuts.
Yeah.
He must be getting a lot of golf. Well, he's athletic already. Didn't he play baseball in college? A lot of those baseball guys are good at golf.
And he's like a ringer on the congressional baseball team. He
hit the big triple a couple years ago.
Yeah, they will be sad to see him go. Of course, and I think the sky is the limit for him, right? Like, he is on a crazy trajectory and being close to all those Trump people, because right now, the Trump endorsement is seemingly the golden ticket, right?
That will be put to the test today with Thomas Massey, won't it?
Yeah, it will be. I was listening to our friends at Reason, because of course they're big Thomas Massey people.
Big time.
And I actually like the guy.
I do
and
too.
Their argument is like, look, his positions that now they're saying were contrary or disloyal to Trump are really some of Trump's, like when he was campaigning, some of his, he's a low spending guy. He wants transparency with respect to the Epstein files. What else? He doesn't want, he's anti-war, but those are a lot of the things that came up in the campaign. And they're like, hey, if you put Massey's positions against Trump's positions, at least in the campaign, they seemingly match up. Although, with respect to votes and kind of the media, he has been, not in lockstep with Trump as far as Trump 2.0 goes. So I think the Polymarket had, what's the other guy's name? He's like, Reason accused him of having the Joe Biden basement campaign. Apparently, he hasn't been debating. He's been kind of staying quiet, which if you're in a race like that, I think that's probably what he's being counseled to do. But at the same time, we don't know a whole lot about his opponent, but he's apparently in the lead right now. And I think,
Is he really? Isn't he a Navy SEAL or something?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
He is. But they said, every time he's asked about the military service, he's a little bit insinuating that he was, I think, involved in very high profile missions, but no one really knows the details. But I think it's kind of nice. I mean, I really enjoy people like John Fetterman. I do like, it's nice to have a discussion about some of these big issues. And I think Massey's one who, makes people question their positions and at least pushes back a little bit. Right. I don't think that should be the death of, Thomas Massey's political career. Do you?
We shall see. I mean, Stephen Miller came out with a video last night just torching Massey over the immigration bill that he refused to vote for, that he voted with all the Senate Democrats, with Chuck Schumer, and all the Senate House, all the Democrat representatives. And he said it's the most important vote of his career, and he voted to side with the illegals and over you, and he was just going off on him.
I mean, as we head into the midterms, I think today is, if you ousted everyone in Indiana,
5 out of 7.
Well, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then you win this Thomas Massey thing.
And then Saturday night, you had Louisiana, Bill
Yes.
Cassidy coming in third. He didn't even make the top 2 in his primary.
That's rough. I think
Massey gets a tough break. You guys are talking about Massey. He gets a tough break, and the opponents try to play him off as a dummy and all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
he's got a degree from MIT.
Yeah, apparently there's a documentary out there that you can watch, and I've listened to a long form podcast about his lifestyle, and he's basically like off the grid, and even though he has like chickens and he does all this stuff, it's like apparently some of his house is powered by a Tesla battery. It's like he's like completely self-sufficient on water, and he used his degree from MIT to like build this compound. It sounds really
he's got a background that kind of parallels J.D. Vance's. He was from West Virginia and was kind of raised in a pretty rural environment and all, but boy, oh boy, they just play him up as a country bumpkin, and the guy's got advanced MIT degrees.
Do they really play him up? I haven't seen him played up as that. I think I've met him, and he's wished me happy birthday on Facebook.
Wow.
Which makes me a little biased in favor of him. I'm like, thank you, Congressman Massey. So I'm like, you're kind of rooting for him, I got to admit, even though I wasn't sad when the Rhino state senators in Louisiana who wouldn't vote to redistrict got bumped out, and I didn't really care about Louisiana either. But if Massey survives this, I won't be sad.
Okay.
Just put it that way.
One, Massey, he's got my vote now. I mean, if he has chickens, 100% has my vote. Two.
What if he's eating them, though? Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of balance this out. Two, no one told me that, like, politicians were going to be wishing me happy birthday on Facebook. What is going on? Like, is this something that normally happens? Like, whenever you're on the scene, not actual, like, big name politicians, but, some local people wished me happy birthday on Facebook. My jaw hit the floor.
Yeah, it happens.
You're famous.
You meet him.
I'm
and
famous,
Facebook
man. I made it.
Yep.
You're famous, exactly.
Yeah,
because for this exact reason. Like, I remembered that, and now I'm rooting for him, kind of thing.
Thomas Massey has a solar-powered mobile chicken coop called the Klux Capacitor that he built.
That's very good.
So anyway, I think a lot of folks will be watching this primary today. Because it does have a lot to say about the Trump endorsement. I think as we head into the midterms, as we're watching the LA mayor's race and this like rise of like the regular, Spencer Pratt's not really a regular guy, but kind of the underdog with his social media presence. If you're a candidate, you have to be thinking before it's just like get as much money as you can. And now the question is all I need the Trump endorsement,
to a lot of creativity.
Or Google Massey's 2021 Christmas card online, and you'll know what we're talking about.
Oh, yeah. All right, we have a big show coming up for you. We're going to be talking to Ben Baker with the USDA later this morning. We've also, we will be, oh my gosh, these Democrats yesterday, what they were saying in New York, it's insane. Drake had to do a lot of bleeping, but we're going to have that for you next. Or actually, we'll have that for you at 6:35 because next we're going to do the Daily DC Rundown with John Marsh.
It's Wake Up Missouri. We've had very big discussions with Iran, and we'll see what they amount to. I was asked by Saudi.
There was President Trump yesterday at a press conference. We'll get into that. He was talking about, he was with Mark Cuban about a big announcement about Trump RX, but saying a big attack's coming tomorrow, which would be today. John, are we going to see a big attack today?
President tells us that the U.S. will now hold off on the planned attack that on Iran had been scheduled for today as what he describes now serious negotiations, but warns Iran the clock is ticking on it proposing an acceptable nuclear deal that will ensure Tehran never gets a nuclear weapon. Meanwhile, their Supreme National Security Council has announced the launch of the Persian Gulf Strait Authority to manage transit through the Strait of Hormuz. We'll see how that works out for them. President of the Justice Department reached a $1.7 billion settlement, as Brian would say, billion with a B, in the president's lawsuit against the IRS and the Treasury Department over the leak of his tax returns. The Justice Department said Trump and the other plaintiffs, two of his sons in the Trump organization, will get a formal apology, but no monetary payment or damages of any kind. Kind of off the hill, 3 people killed in a shooting at the Islamic Center of San Diego. 2 suspected shooters found dead inside a car nearby. Suspects were only 17 and 18.
That's awful. Yeah, I saw, it kind of, they were worried initially that there would be more deaths. And now the mom is coming out and saying that, the kid wrote a note and took her guns.
Yeah, she had called the
car.
police and that he had taken guns, car, and left a note. So she must have had cause that it was some sort of suicidal note, I would imagine.
And I think the reporting that I saw was that she had knew that the kid was suicidal before that. So really terrifying.
That's really
and sad.
Parents' worst nightmare.
Yesterday. I mentioned Mark Cuban was on stage with Trump yesterday. They're partnering I think it's already an expansion of the TrumpRx.gov to lower prescription drug prices. The program partners the Trump admin with Amazon GoodRx and Mark Cuban Cost Plus Drugs, essentially making Trump and Mark Cuban kind of business partners. Now, this is weird because Mark Cuban spent a lot of time campaigning for Kamala Harris, and Trump, he's not a forgive and forget kind of dude.
He is. I think that's not right. Like he
what
does
about
forget.
Thomas Massey?
Here's audio clip 3 under audio. He's forgiving and forgetting. It's hilarious what he has to say, what he's asked about. It's a little surreal, Mr. President, to see Mark Cuban up there, considering he endorsed Kamala, and Trump's like, well, hey, he made a mistake.
I guess Elon went over to China with him, and they kind of had
cracked up.
They had kind of a falling out. So maybe there's still time for Thomas Massey and Trump to reconcile, perhaps.
They can get together and do an apprentice Shark Tank combo.
Marco Rubio, little Marco, is in his cabinet.
That's right. All right. Up next, we have some Zoran Mamdani news. He is saying some things about Ronald Reagan you're not going to want to miss.
I think
Stephanie Bell, joined by guest co-host Jennifer Bukowski, who you can hear, later today on the Gary Nolan Show? Yes.
I will be, yes.
All right. And every Sunday on our Zimmer News Network on the Jennifer Bukowski Show. Well, yesterday, 3 ladies went viral. They were talking about the Luigi Mangione case, which Jen will have an update on here quickly. But apparently they were granted press passes in New York, which people are outraged by because they are completely insane. And if you see the picture, one lady looks professional, another lady's skirt's way too short, and the third lady looks like some sort of pride version of Beetlejuice in rainbow stripes. I'm not sure, but they were giving a press conference yesterday and had this to say about about Brian Thompson, who of course was murdered.
CEO of United Healthcare.
I said what I said.
His children are better off without him. They need to learn to not be like their dad and enjoy the blood money, kids.
Enjoy the blood money.
What was that? I didn't get that, what you said.
I'm standing on this Brian Thompson. I don't give a flying about millions of Americans.
So the reporter actually had to say, "Excuse me, what did you say?"
And then she goes on and says, "I'm glad he's dead."
Yeah. Enjoy the blood money. His kids are better off without him.
Yeah.
Is what these 3 people who New York granted press passes are standing in front of, I guess, the courthouse, giving a mini press conference. Now, there was a big decision by the judge here as of late about the trial itself, right, Jen?
Yeah, these women, just before I get into that, these are sick people, and they're calling for more violence as the political answer. And this is exactly the opposite of what we need to be doing right now in this climate. And it's just sick that so many of these lefties think that it's okay to kill someone. He was a hardworking father of 2 teenage sons that was, top of his class in accounting school, worked like crazy to get to where he was and was going in early to make sure his conference was perfect for his employees when he got shot in the back of the head by this Luigi Mangione monster, allegedly, who had, by the way, Mangione had a big day in court yesterday. He has top criminal defense attorneys, and they argued to exclude the backpack, saying that it was a warrantless search. When the police arrested him at that McDonald's in Pennsylvania, they grabbed him, they grabbed the backpack, and it was out of his reach at the time that they nabbed him, so they couldn't just search it as like a pat down to look for guns or whatever. So, however, once he gets to the station, they inventoried the bag, and as part of that, the gun and the journal could come in, but things like the cell phone and a computer chip will not be coming in. But the journal is really what I would have been concerned about were I the prosecutor not coming in, because the journal has all kinds of anti-healthcare crazy thoughts documented throughout it. Because that's part of the inventory process, they could get that. And then it's apparently a 3D printed gun that was used as a murder weapon.
Wow.
That is also coming into evidence. So I think between the journal, the gun, the videos, and other things, they're going to be able to convict this guy.
But thanks to crazy ladies like these ladies, I mean, not only are they calling for
maybe
more violence, but they
pay for those top-notch attorneys.
They have it. Yeah, he basically has unlimited funds. You said he has some of these really great attorneys, but I mean, how much money the last time I checked had he raised? Like,
and
people
he's from a rich family to begin with. Like, if these people cared about justice, there's plenty of people that don't have 2 dimes to rub together that would love to have good attorneys, but they just celebrate this guy from a rich family who got to go to Ivy League school instead.
All right. Well, we're on New York. Mom Donnie, your favorite, Jen, had this to say yesterday.
I cannot help but think of the words of our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. He famously said, "The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are I'm from the government and I'm here to help." It's a good quote, but I disagree.
Excuse me?
That just made that quote all the more scary. This is exactly the kind of bro that Ronald Reagan was warning us about. I disagree. I think government should do everything. Like, he wants to make government bigger and have government do everything and control everything and control you.
Control your grocery store.
He wants all the power and all the money. And when that happens, we have no freedom in our country.
And he just has this like smile that
so fake.
He just, yeah, he's
he
got to
talks
go.
in all the different accents depending on where he is. There's videos of that. He is so phony.
I really enjoyed this. I have not seen a community notes on this, but someone said a giant middle finger statue has been placed in front of City Hall by a legendary artist, that they have erected a giant statue of a middle finger flipping off City Hall. I think, especially after that quote, he probably deserves that. And I wonder, Jen, you and I were kind of bantering before this, if that's like some sort of temporary thing or how it was funded.
I don't see a community notes on that one.
Yeah.
I thought the community notes was on.
I don't see a community notes.
And I'm part of community notes, so I can see them before they get posted.
Okay. Well, then maybe that's for real. So an interesting way. I mean, so here you have Republicans, or I think conservatives, maybe just regular old citizens of New York, are mad about Mom Donnie's, I always get his name wrong, Mom Donnie's policy. And they erect a middle finger statue. Meanwhile, the people he gives press credentials are out celebrating murder.
Basically calling for more of it, too. They go on to talk about social murder and how he's responsible for the death of babies because he was running a healthcare company that Luigi Mangione had nothing to do with. He was never a patient, like never enrolled in their programs. It's just nuts.
It is. The world is nuts. But we got some good news yesterday. Of course, J.D. Vance was visiting Kansas City, and Jen was hobnobbing with all of the folks over there. The Senate last week pulled the nuclear option, which allows lawmakers to confirm an unlimited number of nominees in batches with just a simple majority. So I guess yesterday, the Senate Republicans confirmed almost 50 of Trump's picks, which included some Missourians.
Yeah, our Matt Price, who was a friend of ours, he was part of our FedSoc steering committee. I guess he still is. Got confirmed. Tom Albus didn't, though, which is interesting.
Was he already confirmed? I don't know the answer to that.
Yes, he was confirmed. That would be why he didn't get confirmed earlier.
Okay, and then we also saw Billy Long get confirmed as ambassador to Iceland. And he's had kind of a little bit of a rocky road. What was his nomination for? He was at the IRS.
IRS commissioner.
Yeah. I think I would much rather be the ambassador to Iceland than be the IRS commissioner. Come on.
Yeah, way easier and more interesting, more parties, more fun.
Yeah, that way only the Icelanders will hate you as opposed to everybody in America.
Denmark could be a tricky post right now.
Yeah. There are a lot of tricky posts out there right now, but that's on my bucket list. If I'm ever important enough to be considered for anything, I hope ambassador is on the list. Now, locally, we got some news yesterday. We talked about this a lot last week. We had the young woman from Moberly who was missing for more than a week. They recovered her body, and I think as of Friday, the teens who we knew were kind of in custody had not been charged. But yesterday, John, we got some charges.
Yeah, 4 people
Friday
charged.
they got charged with murder.
Friday. Okay.
Well, now they've charged 2 of them with murder of 16-year-old Kayla Huff. That's Alana Mason and Hunter Ames, both of Moberly, facing first-degree murder, first-degree kidnapping charges. 2 other defendants facing kidnapping charges. There's a juvenile involved who's facing kidnapping charges. And now this guy, Skylar Powell, is a guy, you might remember the story we did about the woman who was able to jump into the sheriff's car and drive off while handcuffed. Well, that turned out to be Alana Mason.
Yep.
And now this guy, Skylar Powell, is accused of aiding and abetting her, hiding her in the basement, and cutting her handcuffs off. So we've got 6 people now charged in this brutal murder and disappearance of the 16-year-old girl from Moberly.
Well, and like the shooting at the mosque yesterday, all of them are really young. I mean, one juvenile,
No,
but
they're not all.
But they're in their early 20s.
The young one was the victim.
Well,
yeah, but then there's a 17-year-old juvenile. There's a 20-year-old who is allegedly told multiple people that she pulled the trigger and beat Kayla with a tire iron. And they put oil in her car gas tank so that she would break down. So this is like very premeditated. And then I don't know if it's a relation to her, but there's a 26-year-old with the same last name that's charged with tampering with evidence and kidnapping now. So, yeah. And
so what's the next step?
The next step, I mean, they're going to have to go through probably certification procedures on the juvenile. If they think they were responsible for the murder, then that's going to be enough to certify that individual as an adult to charge them with the murder. And then beyond that, I mean, they have to get different public defenders contracted in and appointed, because with this many co-defendants, you're going to have all the different offices have to be involved because they could point the finger at each other. So there's a conflict there for the same office.
They wouldn't all be tried together, would they, Jen?
No.
Or separately?
No, they don't normally try people together that often in Missouri like they do other states, but they could. Technically, they could, but it's not often done.
Who goes first? The folks charged with murder or the folks charged with kidnapping?
It varies. It varies. And they'll be offering different plea deals.
I was going to say, you mentioned
people cooperate.
Yeah, you
which
mentioned.
I wonder if is one of them that was originally charged with kidnapping and tampering with evidence didn't get his charges upgraded to murder like two of the others did.
And you said based on the court documents last week, it looked like somebody was already talking.
Yeah, more than one.
Ooh, that is just awful. And I know there's a lot of services around Moberly. I think there was a church open over the weekend this affects so many people across the community and a small community as well. And so just a terrible, terrible thing for the community of Moberly. But, I guess nice to see that they're on it, that they've got the right people, that it appears allegedly have the right people, and also that these people are in custody and that they've been charged now. So we'll continue to follow that case and bring you updates as they roll in. I know Columbia had a busy city.
The other thing you said was next. I think they're going to be having to make a determination at some point whether they're going to seek the death penalty.
Oh.
I mean, when you have kidnapping in there with the crime, that can make it eligible. So that's going to be a determination that it'll affect, like whether the AG's capital lawyers are on that and the public defender's capital lawyers get involved. But it's not very often you see a 20-pound, 5'2", 130-pound female like this getting brutally murdering a girl, a 16-year-old girl.
Oh, yeah. That it's teen on teen and not just like the
girl
boyfriend.
On girl.
Yeah. Scary stuff. All right. We will continue to watch that case, like I said, and provide you updates. I know the Columbia City Council had a busy meeting last night. We'll bring you updates on that. But up next, we're doing Make Missouri Healthy Again. Jen has an update on
wear your bug spray.
Wearing bug spray. That's up next on Wake Up Missouri.
It's Wake Up
we've got John Marsh and Drake Whitman in the house. We are making Missouri healthy again, and Jen has some advice as we all celebrate the summer of outside. That's what I'm calling my summer.
America 250, there'll be a lot of opportunities to see fireworks or do other outdoor activities, and wear your DEET bug spray because the ticks are everywhere, and a lot of them are carrying alpha-gal, and this is a disease that you don't want to get. There's a new hotline that's been set up for anyone that has questions. If you think you might have alpha-gal, it's 816-339-TICK. If you have any alpha-gal questions, they've set up that hotline. But this is a disease that is an allergy, actually, that some people get after being bitten by certain ticks, especially the Lone Star tick, which are very common in Missouri. When a tick bites you, it can put a tiny molecule called alpha-gal into your body, and some people's immune systems react to this molecule and make antibodies. And this can cause allergic reactions when they eat red meat or foods from mammals like cows or pigs. And so you get stuck only eating chicken, basically, because you can't have anything from pork, beef, anything with a hooved animal, four-legged animal, you become allergic to. And it's becoming more common. Get this, Stephanie, you won't believe this, but apparently when it came to military recruitment numbers for Missouri, they did an alpha-gal test, and it showed that, oh gosh, where did the total go? It showed a huge number of our military recruits.
So why are they testing military recruits for alpha-gal?
I guess because it can make them really sick if they're eating to see if they have to have a specialized diet. But they're estimating that 7,300 to 34,000 Missourians have been affected since 2021. But the large military recruit study found that 29% of Missouri's recruits had alpha-gal antibodies, one of the highest rates in the country. So that leads to estimates of 80,000 Missourians potentially affected when extrapolated. So nationally, there's like 450,000 people that have this.
But if you live in Missouri, you're potentially at a higher risk.
Yeah. So the biggest thing you can do about this is to prevent it. Like check for ticks if you've been outside, if you've been in the woods. Make sure your dogs are getting flea and tick collar medicine. Wear the bug spray so they don't bite you to begin with. But if you get the tick off quicker, it's much less likely that they'll be able to give you this allergy. So the quicker you get the tick off, the better. But if they're sitting in your skin gorging, that's when you're going to come down with alpha-gal.
The experts say the ticks are terrible this year.
Really?
The amount of them, because of our kind of warm winter and all.
And Lone Star ticks, they're kind of hunters. They'll wait and they sense and drop down when they sense prey underneath you.
When you start talking about ticks, do you get the creepy crawlies a little bit? John.
Ticks or lice. I hate talking about it.
Oh, yeah, that's gross. And not eating beef for a life, because it's for life, right?
Some people, like after 5 years, their symptoms start to diminish.
Oh, well, that's good.
But it's hard to test. Because some people get it so bad they need an EpiPen if they're exposed to it at all. And it's not just eating meat. Like if someone is flipping the meat on the barbecue and flipping your chicken, you can come out with the reaction. It's all kinds of products that are on the grocery shelf aisles that you have to carefully read the labels on, because a lot of them contain just various products that come from mammals in them, and medicines too.
Medicines?
Yeah. The capsules, you need special capsules if you get a prescription medication.
Because they're gelatin capsules.
Because the gelatin can set you off. So it ends up, if one of your kids or one of your family member gets it, it changes the lifestyle for the whole family. If you go to someone else's house, you can't trust the foods.
Is this something, this isn't something I heard about growing up. Is this like a newly created thing? Like, why is it so prevalent now as opposed to...
I didn't hear about it growing up either. It's just in the last few years, but I know several people with it, and it upends your life.
That's terrible.
So wear your bug spray, avoid these ticks, get them off, and if you do think you have it, get tested so you stay healthy.
I keep bug spray everywhere. I have it in my... I got the wipes. Have you seen the wipes yet? You can get little individual bug spray wipes. I keep those in my car. Okay, good advice from Jen if you are trying to stay healthy and you want to keep eating your meat this summer. Wear your bug spray. Up next, we'll get to the latest from J.D. Vance in Kansas City.
From the Zimmer Radio Network headquarters, it's your Morning Addiction.
Fraud is exactly what happens when you've got a government that is not fighting for the American people.
Wake Up Missouri with Stephanie Bell.
This is by far the most difficult moment I've had as an elected official.
The Zimmer News Team.
I've been hearing about Cuba since I'm a little boy. They've been saying, what's going on with Cuba?
And now introducing your host, Randy Tobler.
Gentlemen, we are bringing the United States of America back, and it's starting right here in the great state of Missouri.
That was J.D. Vance in Kansas City yesterday talking about manufacturing and business. And Jen, you and I talk a lot about how Missouri is punching above its weight in the Trump 2.0 administration. And no exception is Ben Baker, former state senator, who is now the USDA state director for rural development in Missouri. Now, this isn't one of the flashier positions that has you on Fox News all the time, but it's very important, especially in Missouri, where our number one industry is agriculture and rural, and we have a lot of rural areas. So, Ben, tell us more. What is the Rural Development Agency?
Sure. So thanks for having me on. Good to be on the show again. So the USDA has many agencies, under the larger umbrella of the USDA, the Farm Service Agency, Food and Safety, and on and on. But our agency, RD, is kind of the best kept secret, the one that kind of flies under the radar. But it's an agency with it's mission oriented to help rural America. And as you know, President Trump, Secretary Rollins really have a clear vision of putting America's farmers, ranchers, and producers first. So my responsibility as the state director really is to just carry out that vision and ensure that rural Missouri isn't left behind, but rather at the forefront of policy and investment and innovation.
Well, the secret is out now that you are on Wake Up Missouri. So we hope you're getting a lot more phone calls from folks who can really take advantage of some of the rural development programs or resources. Talk to us about what's available.
We have a lot of things. Small town America represents the heart of our nation, the resilience, the self-reliance, the family values. They reflect the essence, really, of what makes America truly great. We invest in a lot of essential infrastructure like community facility programs, rural health care. I just went and visited CMH Hospital. It's a new hospital in Bolivar, Missouri, or new wing of that hospital, over a $60 million project. Rural health care is such a huge need right now. We help schools, first responders, law enforcement, the list goes on. We have a housing program as well, single-family housing, multifamily housing, and business programs. We do loans and grants for businesses as well. So we're kind of all over the board when it comes to resources.
Do you do anything with USDA loans?
We do. Yeah. We do a lot with loans and grants, just depending on what program it is. And what's cool is my first home loan was an RD loan. And it's kind of surreal to me that it's kind of come full circle that now I get to preside over the program in Missouri that I took advantage of and was a huge asset for us starting out early in life.
Ben, I think when we talked to you about a year ago, you were right in the middle of the whole debate at the Capitol on DEI and how that all functions and the governor came up with his executive order banning state government entities from going that route. What kind of grade would you give where we're at right now with rolling back DEI in Missouri?
Well, I think as with many things, Missouri was leading on that issue, and it was kind of tough a little bit early on to start dealing with something a little bit ahead of the curve. But it was so important, and obviously with the Trump administration, they have really tackled that issue with all the federal agencies, and I'm thankful to see their commitment to that. But the governor has done the same, and so it's good to see, I think, moving in the right direction.
What kind of numbers are we talking about when you're talking about investment in Missouri from rural development programs?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Including our rural utility program, which is another one of ours, USDA rural development last year in the fiscal year, we put over $2.5 billion of resources into Missouri. And so that's a significant number. And it's not just statistics. That actually represents better homes. It represents thriving family farms, stronger businesses, and more resilient communities. And it's interesting that Missouri is often near the top of the list out of all 50 states when it comes to RD programs. So I'm proud to be a part of that.
When you say $2.5 million includes better homes, are you building homes? And why is the government building homes?
We don't build homes, but we fund, mortgages basically with our single-family housing and multifamily housing programs.
Say more about, you mentioned the Rural Utility Program. What does that entail?
So with rural utilities, mainly the co-ops. We do a lot through the electric infrastructure program. For instance, I'll just give you an example of that. Associated Electric Co-op, they serve 107 counties in Missouri, 15 in Iowa, I believe, and 30 some as well counties in Oklahoma. A $500 million loan to help finance a new dual fuel simple cycle combustion turbine facility for generation. That's just one example when it comes to our U.S. utility program that we invest in, because those essential infrastructure is so important to rural Missouri to be able to do the work that the good people out there are doing when it comes to our farmers and ranchers.
You mentioned Iowa. Talk to us about your interaction with other state directors around the country. Cooperation.
Sure. It's really cool. I didn't know much about RD at all before I came to this position, and still surreal to me that I get to serve at the pleasure of the president in this position. But the other directors is kind of a good group. I've got to meet all of them and work. Of course, we have a regional area as well group that we have calls regularly. We talk about the issues because we understand, being in the middle of the country, the issues may be very different of what they are on the coast, and how that goes. But we work also with SBA. My counterpart at SBA is a regional director. HUD is the same, Housing and Urban Development. So facilitating good relationships with them and collaboration as well.
When you're looking at investments in Missouri, are there areas of greater need in Missouri or identified areas that you're prioritizing?
Sure. So when you look at our programs, they are designed when it comes to qualifying for our programs for rural areas. Many of ours are designed for even towns of less than 10,000 in population, which is very small town rural areas. There are parts of the state, let's take southeast Missouri, for instance, very poor. A lot of challenges when it comes to jobs, when it comes to infrastructure, when it comes to geographically where they're located. Southeast Missouri is one of the poorest areas of the country, actually. And so obviously we pour a lot of resources with RD into those areas. So there are areas of greater need. We have 24 offices around the state, and there are state offices in Columbia, actually. And so our staff, they work in those rural communities. They're not in D.C., they're not disconnected from what the average person or recipient of our program is dealing with. They're your friends, your neighbors, and they live in rural Missouri as well.
How many offices does rural development have around our state? And also, what kind of changes have you seen that the Trump administration is doing compared to the Biden administration? Yeah,
so we have 24 offices,
wow.
But here's what's interesting. When President Trump came into this administration, as you know, there have been a lot of changes, and probably I would say for my agency, probably unprecedented changes. We DOGE came into our agency. We downsized about 43% of our staff. And as you know, the president's agenda, they are really focused on making sure that we are being efficient, that we are tackling any fraud, and making sure that these the taxpayer-funded agencies are doing what they're supposed to be doing, that money is going where it's supposed to be going. For instance, the Biden administration dumped tons of money into alternative energy. For instance, like funding these giant solar farms that were gobbling up large portions of farmland and a lot of concerns for rural areas. The Trump administration has completely put that on a pause completely, and saying we have to revisit this and look at and see if this is something we should be doing. So that's just one. There are many other changes as well when it comes to this administration.
How do you like this job compared to being a Missouri state senator?
Well, I appreciate I was a state representative,
or state
not
rep,
a senator.
excuse me.
So, yeah.
Oh, I think I got that wrong. Apologies.
That's okay. It's very different, but I love the challenge of it. It's something that I've never really been involved in finance, and that's really what we do. But the main thing of, the important part of my position is just ensuring, and why it's a political appointment is ensuring that the president's agenda gets implemented in these federal agencies, and that they are responding in policy and in what they are doing out there in the field to what the direction of this administration is doing. So it's very different than the legislature. I do miss some of that. A lot of it I don't miss when it comes to the legislature. I do miss the people and all those relationships, but it's very different, but I've had a blast with it.
So what I'm hearing from you is there's still a possibility that you end up in the state Senate.
You never know. I learned a long time ago to never say never because I just don't know. But right now I'm focused on this, and I enjoy it. I have a great staff as well. I was so blessed to walk into a good situation with very strong staff. Even though we were downsized, what we do have left is very good, and that's why we can deliver at the level we do in Missouri.
All right. So you said rural development is one of the best kept secrets, but and then you said you oftentimes talk to towns under 10,000. I live in a town of under 5,000, so I'm in a rural area. If I'm listening this morning and thinking, gosh, I didn't know all these programs were available, how do I get in contact and find out, if any of these programs are available to me?
Sure. I would reach out to our local staff in those service centers around the state. That's all online as well. They can go to www.rd.usda.gov/Missouri. Our website has all those contacts and emails and where our staff are located around the state. They can also follow us on X at RD_Missouri. My X is at Ben Baker MO. Any of those places, we're keeping updated regularly on program announcements and other good information so that people can reach out to us. And that's what I would just tell people is if you have a question, or if you think that there could be a resource available, if we don't have it and if it doesn't fit for us, we'll connect you with the people who can help in those situations. So we want to collaborate.
Well, wonderful. From Trump 2.0, we have a lot of Missourians who are making Missouri proud, you included. Thanks for your hard work and for the information this morning.
Thank you so much. Have a fantastic day.
All right. Up next, if you are planning a date night for this weekend or a trip coming up, I've got an idea for you. That's up next on Wake Up Missouri.
It's
Joined by guest co-host Jennifer Bukowski this morning. Randy returns tomorrow. We have, if you are headed out to a date night this weekend, you know, it's going to be raining. A lot of people, I really want to go to the lake, but the weather forecast is iffy at best. If you're looking at taking a quick road trip or you're in the area, Pizza Hut is leaning hard into its nostalgia by reviving the classic restaurant designs from the 80s and 90s. John, I remember, what is the one on Christie in Jefferson City? Remember, that's the one where I always ended up. After sporting events, for school field trips, you know, I lived for that Book It gift certificate to go get my...
sure. Personal pan pizza for the kid if they read a bunch of books. Yeah.
There's a franchise operator named Tim Sparks, and he is remodeling dozens of locations that are going to include the iconic red roofs, the red plastic cups, vinyl booths, those iconic lamps, the checkered tablecloths, Pac-Man, arcade games. This is...
What if they bring back their pizza buffet that they used to do?
They said they are bringing back the salad bars. I remember that. I lived for the buffet when I was like a kid. That was like my favorite. Pizza Hut and Ponderosa. I'm trying to think. The Chinese buffets, I loved it. Now... I think COVID basically killed buffets, but some are making a comeback.
Those Tiffany-style lamps, those are a throwback in these articles. I had not thought about those, but they're gorgeous. The red and white, but they say Pizza Hut real big in black letters on them.
I think for a while you could only find them, on eBay, and they were probably going for a pretty penny if you could get a hold of one, right?
So like the ones you'd have over your pool table.
He says the goal is to recreate the old dine-in family atmosphere that made Pizza Hut a destination, not just a takeout stop. And that's true. I find like with the busy family lifestyle, I'm doing more and more of just like picking up rather than like making it an experience. So I visited this website. It's called, let me see. Oh, gosh darn it. The Retrologist. And I've not heard of this, but now I'm going to be a big fan. You can look up, like, if you're really into nostalgia, different nostalgic places to visit. And there is a Pizza Hut classic in Shell Knob, Missouri, which is just west of Branson. So if you're down in KWTO land, just a hop, skip, and a jump from you. And I know a lot of families traverse to Branson in the summer. Maybe put this on your stop. I think that would be super fun. I would really enjoy this.
He wants it to get back to a place where families came, sat down together, put their phones down, and ate together instead of just doing takeout and eating on the road. So that's cool. And it looks like they're doing the incentivizations for kids to read with classroom pizza parties. So that's also good.
Yes, as we know from our reading scores, all the kids could be better incentivized to read more books. Certainly. All right, coming up next, there's a big wedding coming up, and do we know when the Taylor Swift-Travis Kelce wedding is?
That's June
Drake
13th.
Is rolling his eyes. You have that marked in your calendar, apparently.
Well, I just remember because it's number 13.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's lucky day.
It's her special number. Okay, but a different wedding, not the Taylor-Travis wedding.
No, he's 87. What's 13? That's her album.
Yep.
Has America been fair to
Countries have come to me and they've said we were getting ready to do a very major attack tomorrow. I put it off for a little while, hopefully maybe forever, but possibly for a little while, because we've had...
That's President Trump. Of course, he had announced that there was going to be a major attack today, but he has said we're pressing pause. It feels like we're pressing pause a lot lately, and I'm kind of with Drake right now. Like, I'm tired of waiting around for... we keep sending across a proposal. They keep saying no. We say our line in the sand is no nukes, and they keep saying no. And so it sounds like either we give a little bit or we just start dropping bombs.
We haven't given on the no nukes thing.
We haven't, but
dropping bombs, we bombed a lot. We'd have to take out bridges and infrastructure next, right?
But I think and I think about it from like a litigation standpoint, right? Like when you're lawyers and you're negotiating a money settlement, right? Like, okay, I offer 100,000, you offer 10,000. There's room to move. Here, like when you litigate on principle, right? Or it like there's no.
Even if we started at an impasse and we seem to still be at an impasse.
There's no middle ground here. I mean, I guess the middle ground, as Trump said, maybe we'll do like a 20-year pause on nuclear development or whatever, which I think is a loss for us. I think we need no nukes forever, which is, I guess, a deal maybe you can't really make. But so maybe that's the middle ground. But John, is there any middle ground here?
Boy, you don't know. We have the president saying we've got this on pause, and then some of the Gulf nations are saying, yeah, we're working on the Iranians. But then the Iranians come out and say, we have now established a new entity that will manage the Strait of Hormuz. And it's like, I don't think they're not giving on anything, if much of anything.
It doesn't really seem like it. Drake is all about the bombs.
This is ridiculous. The middle ground is letting them stay as a country. Letting them have a government. Right now, we could just blow them to, make a big glass sculpture out of the nukes and sand, heating up. I'm tired of, everyone, we got to let them have their nukes in 20 years, but we don't want it, but that's what we're going to have to do. No, we are America. We're not some third world country, and we have nukes. We have power. And I don't know why we're not using it.
You've been saying this for some time, and I think initially I was not on your team, but the longer this goes on, I'm moving more toward Drake's position.
We got to remember, they know things we don't know. I trust Trump is committed to them never having a nuclear weapon. He's been saying that since the early 80s. And they know about the oil being very important to the economy. They're working on it. So we shall see. They have problems because we've taken out so many of their leadership. And then they also have the Guard versus, and John knows more about this than me, the Guard versus the Ayatollah people, the religious leader people versus the guys with the guns. It's like, who do you negotiate with and who is actually wielding power to make a deal in that country? It's not always super clear.
That's fair. We are also...
And the embargo of their ports.
Yeah.
Yeah, they won't be able to last forever this way. I guess Cuba's still hanging on by a thread down there, though.
I mean, initially we said it was going to be 6 weeks, and what week are we on? Is anyone keeping track? 12? Are we on 12 yet?
At least.
Something like that. All right, we also got we have a phone call from Joe. Hey, Joe, welcome into Wake Up Missouri. What do you think?
Good morning. I'm very happy to hear Drake Whitman's opinion. Gives me hope for future generations.
Me too.
But I think that would be a bad move. That would be a play out of the Obama playbook. Make a 15-year deal, unfreeze funds, and negotiate with them. I think that's a terrible plan.
Well, thanks.
We got to draw the line.
Thanks for the call, Joe. Appreciate the insight. Joe's on Team Drake. Are you Team Drake or are you on Team Wait It Out? Weigh in, 573-874-9390. Yes.
Yeah, we have about, it's been 12 weeks. It's been however long since it only takes 30 minutes for a nuke to travel across seas.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. This peace deal could be done real easily.
That's a little glib. Drake, there's how many 80 million people living there that are captured by this evil regime and they want to be free. We got to keep that in mind as well.
Jen with her feelings this morning.
There's not feelings, there's lives of tens of millions of innocent people that would be extinguished by a nuke.
Don't let 8 million lives get in the way of peace, Jen.
80 million lives.
80 million, whatever.
All right. Well, we also got a big update yesterday with a jury verdict. I think last time you were sitting in with me, Jen, we were talking about the trial and how the one guy was with his journal, was going on the stand. All of this stuff is coming out about AI between Elon and Sam Altman. And yesterday, the jury returned a verdict.
Yes. So just as a refresher, Elon Musk sued OpenAI, Sam Altman, and Greg Bachman, and others, claiming that they'd violated OpenAI's original nonprofit mission. OpenAI is, of course, the one company that owns ChatGPT. His basic argument was that I helped create and fund this organization to develop AI for the benefit of humanity, not to become a Microsoft-backed commercial powerhouse. But Musk lost. A federal jury in California unanimously rejected his claims after less than 2 hours of deliberation. That's pretty bad considering the length of this trial. The key legal reason was that the claims were too late. The jury found Musk waited too long under the statute of limitations. So they got away on a technicality, basically. Because, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that originally OpenAI was supposed to be an open source thing, and it was going to be a nonprofit, and that's what Elon put his name and weight and talents behind it, got it going, and then they switched, which is very weird, to a for-profit company, which is now very profitable.
See, and now I think Elon's going to drop bombs because I think he does not like to lose. He's so talented. He's got so much resources. I think if I'm him, I just put all of my money into Grok and I try to crush OpenAI.
I don't know. It's backed by Microsoft, though. That's another giant.
But this is part of the discussion of like who is going to be the AI supreme leader. We've got OpenAI and ChatGPT. We've got Claude. We've got Gemini. We've got Grok. We've got, and right now, I think depending on what you're using it for, I think different services are better at different functions. But certainly you would think like one is going to come out on top, right?
Right. Well, we shall see. That's what happened with Google, certainly. But these different AIs some are good at art. Some are good at, business functionality. They seem to have different strengths. So unlike Google when it was just search engines, now the different AIs have their own different specialties. But the bottom line here, just for if you're listening at home, he didn't lose on the argument that this was supposed to be a not-for-profit that they tricked and turned it into for-profit. He lost on a technicality, which was the statute of limitations. That's what the jury found on. They didn't find that he lost for the merits of, this was just deceit.
That's an important clarification. So we will continue to follow AI. I think I'm going to wait. So I was spamming our group text, a little behind the scenes here. I was spamming our group text all day long with actual data about data centers and AI and energy. But I think I'm going to wait to put the hammer down on that data and share it until Randy is back so we can really fight it out. So pay attention tomorrow. We'll be talking a little bit more about that. But also this article, so Columbia City Council met last night. They were going over a lot of things. I think we're learning that they're not going to put the public safety tax for the new jail on the ballot, John. I think that's right. We'll have more on that. But also,
speaking of City of Columbia, did you see the body was found in
Perchy Creek
in a recycle bin or in a roller bin? So we know the body it's not that cold of a case.
For our OG wake
when
up,
did we get those trash bins?
Yeah, for our
it's only been a year or two.
Wake Up Missouri folks. I'm not trying to reignite the roll carts, but I'm glad you brought that up, Jen. Yeah, that's really bizarre. So I guess the body's headed to the medical examiner autopsy to try to figure out what body it is. But some fishermen.
If it's found in a roller cart in the middle of a river, that's automatically suspicious of foul play, right?
Yeah, I think
pretty much
3 or 4 years of roll carts in Columbia,
so
but
it's not going to be like a 50-year-old homicide. It's something more recent, probably.
That's awful. Another roll cart update is the tornado in Columbia. Last year took out the recycling center, and so Columbia had restricted their recycling activity. And I always wonder, are you do you recycle? Are you a recycler? Are you committed to recycling?
We used to. It's been kind of weird to be throwing out all of our cans and bottles and whatnot because for years and years we recycled them.
So after the facility got damaged in the tornado, the city has restricted recycling to every other week. But now the city of Columbia will resume weekly collection of recycling starting June 15th. You know, there were a lot of articles out there, and maybe I'm just being duped, but isn't it true that a lot of the stuff you put in your recycling bin doesn't actually get recycled? Is that true? Who knows this?
I've heard that. I have heard that.
Text us.
I've heard varying things about that.
Text us 573-874-9390 if you actually know about recycling. I would love, when I lived in Jefferson City, we had the recycling bin, and I loved having the 2 bins and having the recycling bin, mainly because I have a lot of trash, and just being able to put the cardboard and other stuff allowed me not to have a full or overflowing trash bin every week. We don't have that in Ashland yet. When I sat on the Board of Aldermen, I was like, I want my recycling bin. We don't have it still. I'm sad about it. And we have to like drive our cardboard, break it down, drive it to a lot, and then you have to like put it in this tiny hole. It's really annoying. So mostly the cardboard sits in my garage.
Why don't you just burn it?
Well, I live in the city. So
is that not allowed in the city? Are you not allowed to burn
but
stuff?
I don't. Yeah, and I don't have time. I mean, really. But I'm just thinking.
You just light it on fire and leave it. I mean, put it in the fire pit. This shouldn't
just
take
nuke
more.
it.
Yeah. Amen, Jen. Amen.
Is that what you do in Salisbury?
Well, I mean, I live outside of city limits, so I mean, but yeah, we burn a lot of stuff.
Besides cardboard?
No. We
Tires?
have a lot of. Yeah, we actually do.
Are
burn
they
going to
reopen the cardboard drop-off places? Then I hope
so because
that's been a real huge pain in the butt.
Yeah, I'm hoping because I know we were restricted in Ashland after the tornado issue in Columbia with the frequency of the recycling pickups.
Where's Hauswirth? Get him on that.
Hopefully,
I want to know.
But good news if you're in Columbia and you're really into recycling, that is the weekly pickup is going to resume on June 15th. So coming up next, John, what do you got for us?
Hey, no reading in my bookstore.
All right. That's up next on Wake Up Missouri.
It's Wake Up
And that would be all. Except for this.
A pop-up bookless bookstore opened in the Lower East Side, Manhattan, where else? New York City. The Audible Story House showcases only, you guessed it, audiobooks. This is a physical place entirely dedicated to bringing audio storytelling to life. Visitors can browse tablets, which they call story tiles, and listen to excerpts through headphones. Space offers a room with speakers for folks who, I guess, don't want to mess up their hair with the headphones. You can pull up to the listening bar and be guided by story tenders to find stories that match your interests and preferences. One neighboring business owner, the guy at the dry cleaners, joked with the New York Post, maybe they'll open a restaurant that will feature only pictures of food, or maybe a bar with just video of other people drinking booze.
I don't know. I don't hate it. I kind of like this idea. I like audiobooks. I buy the Kindle and Audible so I can read and highlight and listen to books.
That's
read along.
called the library. Like our local libraries
have seen
such good...
Libraries are filled with homeless people, especially in big blue cities. You wouldn't want to go in there.
Well, come to
walk
the library
on some needles and step on poop.
Southern Boone. But once you have your library card, they have all sorts of online services where you can get free audiobooks. And I am an audiobook girly. I am always on the move. So I have so many books stacked on my bedside table that have gone unread. But
wouldn't it be cool? You go and it's like, oh, these are by really great actors. These are really well performed, and there's featuring having different recommendations. I could see liking it. It's like going to the record store. You used to be able to back in the day. But
you could also buy the record.
Right? But you could sit there and listen to the tracks before you decided to buy the record. Remember?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either, but I've seen it on movies.
That was a long time ago, but yeah.
But
when they had standalone record stores still.
But there's something magical about going into a bookstore and finding discovering a book that you haven't seen before and touching the book and the smell of the bookstore.
Well, now I don't go unless it's airport, and I just take pictures of books I'm going to buy on my Kindle because it takes a lot for me to actually buy a book that I'm going to carry around. But I do like seeing the books on display and then be like, oh, that's a good book. So this would also be kind of good.
Jen's reading really important things. She just read. What book did you just read?
Exodus. It's not the Bible book, but was published in 1958 about the founding of Israel. Because we're going to Israel.
Yeah.
Like the movie with Paul Newman, I think.
Yeah, I need to get it. You said it was a really long book. See, my bookstore, Drake, you're going to love this. The last bookstore I was in, we walked in and we took the kiddos and we go back into the kids section, and the first, maybe not the last bookstore I was in, but the first book that's sitting right there, and I read the title and I thought, what in the world? And it said Bum or Face. We were overseas and I thought, bum or face? What in the world? A kid's book, right? You open up the pictures and it's just zoomed in pictures of animals, and you have to guess, is it a bum or a face? And on the next page, it tells you, and then it tells you what animal it is. And I did not buy it that day, but I ended up later gifting it to the kids because it was so hilarious. And
anything to get them into
British humor
books about poop
is a little bit more crass than ours. But I thought, that was my version of walking into a bookstore and discovering a new book that I had never thought about. And then I'm thinking at the same time, someone's getting rich off of this book, right?
You betcha.
We could write a children's book, Jen.
I don't know if it's the children's book authors that are raking in all the Benjamins, to be honest.
I think Drake should write a children's book featuring his favorite birds as the main characters.
Yeah, there you go. You could take this concept and do something about animals. Kids would love that.
Do you know the last time I read a book, Stephanie?
It's probably been a while.
It's been a while. I don't know if I'm in a place to write a book.
Did you even buy the textbooks in college? Do you even buy textbooks now, or do you just get them all?
No, you still buy them.
Digital. Okay.
I had to buy a textbook, and they printed it out for you. And then you put it in a binder. It was so weird.
Yeah, we were talking about this. It was very important that you had a locker. And I remember my books were so thick and I had so many, I couldn't even fit them all on my backpack. And I'm kind of a small person. I'd be walking around all hunched over with all these books. And now my kids don't even have any. Drake's laughing at me. Yes, I was a nerd. And plus I had my instrument with me too. carrying it around. But now my kids, they have like nothing in their backpack but a few
Law school,
water.
I got a roller bag. I didn't care if I looked dorky. They were heavy.
Drake is shaking his head. But you know what? We're smarter than you. So carry some books, kids. All right. Up next, we're going to Jen. Where are we going?
From the Zimmer Radio Network headquarters, it's your morning addiction.
Fraud is exactly what happens when you've got a government that is not fighting for the American people.
Wake Up Missouri with Stephanie Bell.
This is by far the most difficult moment I've had as an elected official.
The Zimmer News Team.
I've been hearing about Cuba since I'm a little boy. They've been saying, what's going on with Cuba?
And now introducing your host, Randy Tobler.
Randy returns to Wake Up tomorrow. This is Stephanie Bell. I'm joined by guest co-host Jennifer Bukowski, who you will hear later today on the Gary Nolan Show, and you can hear across the Zimmer News Network on Sundays on the Jennifer Bukowski Show. Now, we have a lot of really cool friends, and one of the coolest friends, people that I call a friend, is Harmeet Dillon, who's now head of civil rights at DOJ. And the left has been gaslighting us for years. And they tell us, oh, we don't need to show ID. We don't need to prove
voter
that
fraud doesn't really happen.
No.
Or it happens so rarely it would never affect anything.
And any sort of ID requirement would disenfranchise folks, regardless of the data that shows where we have put in voter ID rules, that we are seeing like good numbers on voter turnout, better than ever before. But they're telling us election fraud is just like this made up thing, and you guys are all conspiracy theorists. So Harmeet Dillon is putting that to rest here. She made this announcement, I believe, yesterday. Listen to this.
The Department of Justice has charged a longtime California signature gatherer under 52 U.S.C. Section 10307, subsection C, with one count of paying another person to register to vote in a federal election. The defendant, Brenda Lee Brown Armstrong, has signed a plea agreement and has admitted her guilt on this charge. According to the plea agreement, and my colleague Bill Asaley will be able to answer any specific questions about it, she worked as a petition circulator, aka signature gatherer here in Los Angeles for approximately 20 years. And starting in 2025 or so, after Ms. Brown Armstrong had a practice of going down to Skid Row here in Los Angeles, getting homeless people to sign these signature petitions that had to do with qualifying ballot measures and et cetera. She would sometimes find that the signatures would be disqualified because the people signing these signature petitions weren't actually registered to vote. So to remedy this flaw in her business arrangements, she would then gather, starting in 2025, stacks of voter registration forms from the Los Angeles County Registrar of Voters, and then go to Skid Row in downtown Los Angeles to have homeless people first sign the voter registration forms and then sign the signature petitions.
She wanted to make her money for gathering those signatures, didn't she? But this never happens, Stephanie. It never happens.
Well, I was looking at the Heritage Foundation. They have an election fraud map, and you can look by state and find out if there's been any convictions in your own state regarding election fraud. And just last year, there were 2 convictions, criminal convictions for false registrations. James Hoppy and his wife Jessica were charged in Jackson County with willfully providing false documentation required for voter registration, which is a Class D felony. Apparently, they wanted to get elected for trustee positions. They basically registered to vote at a warehouse where they didn't live, and were convicted. And also, the other latest one in Missouri was also involved a signature gatherer. Danny Williams was convicted of ballot petition fraud. He was a resident of Boone County, Missouri, and pled guilty to 3 felony counts of forgery. He falsified 114 signatures on 40 ballot petitions. So when they tell you this doesn't happen, this is totally made up, there's no evidence, feel free to send them a link to the Heritage website's election fraud map. It's really easy to find.
Well, the one you just read, Happy, did you read the rest of this? They're both claiming to live in a warehouse, which nobody lived in, but James Happy was hoping to win a tiebreaker against his wife when they both received the same number of votes to become a trustee of the Riverbend Board of Trustees. The husband and wife ran against each other, tied, and yeah, that's an odd one. But
falsified their own voter registration records. Do you think they tattled on each other?
Probably. I wonder if they're still married. Probably not.
Doubt it.
Well, how many years ago was it that Taylor Burks and Breonna Lennon got into it with some kind of a war of words over Taylor talking about there has been election fraud in Boone County and all that back in the 2010 something.
And I guess there had been.
And I think it's important to say, as we've talked about before, Jennifer and I do a lot of election integrity work, a lot of watching. And I think in particular, Secretary of State Ashcroft and now Hoskins and even Boone County Clerk Brianna Lennon, I think, I think they're all striving to make sure that your vote counts on Election Day.
Compared to other people in the other parts of the country.
Correct.
We don't have much to complain about. But, did you see this? LOL, Americans are now trolling LA Mayor Karen Bass, saying, I will be flying to Los Angeles to illegally vote for Spencer Pratt. What are they going to do? ID me? How is that going to work? Hello, I'm here. My name is Bob Smith, and I live in
a warehouse.
And I'm not registered to vote, but I get same day of registration, and I live on Skid Row, and I'd like to vote for Spencer Pratt, please. Thank you very much.
Exactly. I mean, that seems like without these types of protections, how are they going, and before.
And you don't have to be registered. You can same day register and then vote. Your vote ends up counting there. That's why it takes them forever to count.
All right. If Jennifer and I are absent.
I'm not advising you do that. That would be illegal.
Don't do it.
Well, speaking of illegal, Trump is claiming that Maryland sent out 500,000 illegal mail-in ballots and is going to send out another 500,000. They're saying that no, it was a vendor error, that some of the ballots mixed up the party slates. So, put like the Democrats under Republicans or Republicans under Democrats. That's a big boo-boo. And they're saying to voters, destroy those ballots, don't turn them in. And they're mailing out more that are going to somehow be identifiable. But what a mess that they're having over there in Maryland.
Just kidding, right? Like you fill out your ballot, you mail it in, and then they're like, actually, that one was no good. You have to do it again. How many people kind of check that box and are like, I'm done voting or I already voted. And then you voted on the wrong ballot? Are they going to try to count the ones that are already turned in?
They're saying that they're going to mail them out again with some sort of way to tell that those ones are the valid ones and not count the ones that they already mailed, which, I'll believe that when I see it. They're going to need to be sending some election integrity folks over there for sure. And then Louisiana, it's so weird. They had a vote and they had ballots with their congressional people on it, but the maps weren't right. So none of those votes are going to count. They're going to have another election after they draw their maps. And then they're redistricting everywhere. And apparently it's not just, did you see Stacey Abrams coming out saying, this is what our state legislative map is going to look like? And it is getting a whole lot redder after Calais came out and said you can't draw districts based on race. Well, a lot of the state legislative districts have been drawn based on race. So that's going to alter. It's not just going to be the composition of Congress, but the composition of state legislatures too, which is kind of a big deal.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I know Missouri redistricting law. I don't know other states, and I know oftentimes.
But we were keeping areas of minorities together when we drew our state rep and state senate seats, right? So now that's changed.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, we also yesterday learned that there is a new lawsuit in the Missouri redistricting battle.
Lawyers like Stephanie Bell and Mark Ellinger need to pay. Their kids need shoes too, folks. So let's keep litigating these maps. I'm just kidding. I tease. We're grateful for Ellinger Bell for all the winning. I'm sure Trump is grateful too for all the winning.
We had a big win in the Missouri Supreme Court last week, but
yes, huge.
The Democrats aren't giving up.
They're not. They just filed a lawsuit to force decision again, I guess, on Missouri gerrymandering referendum. People, not politicians.
Wait, hold on. That you just read the Missouri Independent title. I take issue with the gerrymandering referendum.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've thrown that word around pretty heavy on the other side, haven't they?
The Missouri not independent.
Well, aren't they demanding that we keep our gerrymandered maps that kept the racial? Well, this one wasn't even racial. This one was partisan gerrymandering, which is fine to do.
And of course, the court decided last week that the new Missouri first map was actually more compact than the last map, and said that the Missouri first map is the law of the land as we sit here today. But
aren't these the same folks that wanted the cleaner Missouri that would make it the most gerrymandered thing ever? Remember that? Like, it was going to create districts that would have like 10 streets in St. Louis County being strung out all the way almost to Columbia. That's like what their map would look like.
Yeah, one of the, I think it was one of the lawmakers who said, yeah, if we redraw the district like this, it's going to look like somebody's garden rake laying in the lawn with a big long handle and a bunch of prongs all on one end of it.
Well, and that's what they were calling the Virginia map. Remember the claw?
Yeah.
And you look at Illinois.
Illinois is so bad.
Yeah. So the redistricting battle, how many lawsuits have there been so far? I think we were up to like 10 or something on the
Easily
Missouri first
10,
map.
yeah.
And so far they've all been unsuccessful. So that will continue to play out.
Knock on wood, but the wins keep coming.
Up next, we are going to get to the morning bell and your latest in the markets.
It's Wake Up
It was a mixed bag yesterday on Wall Street, with the Dow up 0.32%, the S&P down 0.07%, the Nasdaq down 0.51%. As we look at the sectors, technology was down almost 1%, with real estate, financials, consumer staples, and energy all up over 1%. As we look at the futures this morning, they are down. We are all awaiting, apparently Wall Street's watching very closely as NVIDIA is going to report their earnings tomorrow. Of course, we got the news, I think last time you were on the show, Jen, that NVIDIA is going to start selling chips
to China.
Yeah.
China.
So we'll see how that affects their earnings and how that affects the overall markets. Now, despite Randy not being here, we're going with a healthcare angle this morning for the Morning Bell, because the Journal is reporting that the hottest job in healthcare is now nurse practitioners. And this is interesting because I have a daughter.
You did that on purpose so Randy doesn't blow his lid about it, huh?
Yeah, because they're kind of stepping on the doctor's toes, at least according to some doctors. But I know I have a daughter who thinks she wants to be in healthcare, and someone told her, oh, you should be a physician's assistant because it's much less school. You still get really good pay. And this is kind of in that same vein. Nurse practitioners are now the fastest growing job in healthcare, jumping roughly 60% since 2019. There are now almost 500,000 nurse practitioners nationwide. And they say what's driving this is the doctor shortage. We are short, apparently, about 16,000 primary care physicians, and those primary care physicians are aging, which is making the problem worse. Also, states have been trying to address things. We talked to Ben Baker of the USDA earlier, and he said, part of the rural development, they're helping with rural health care. And this is a big problem. And so states have been kind of changing what nurse practitioners can do. So now in many states, in about 30 states, they can now diagnose illnesses, prescribe medications, and treat patients independently. So in a lot of rural communities, they're really becoming the frontline provider. I don't know about you, but there's a lot of times, I'm trying to make an appointment. They're like, hey, do you mind seeing the nurse practitioner? We can get you in sooner. And so if I have a choice of seeing the actual doc or, seeing the nurse practitioner today, easy choice for me, right? Like, let's get this done.
It depends.
Okay.
It depends for me. Sometimes I'll be like, well, when can I see the actual doctor? Because if I'm taking my time because it's important to me, I want to talk to the doctor. But sometimes
that's
the
very
nurse
lawyerly of you.
But when it comes to I'll say skin checks, I've come around on it because I feel like the nurse practitioner spends a lot more time with you.
Yeah. Sometimes it can really feel like the doctor's
on something that specialized. She's probably fine.
Yeah. Sometimes it can feel like the doctor's really on the clock.
Right.
That's fair.
And they are. I mean, they have to. Their whole practice is relying on them getting through their patients that day.
Well, and they say healthcare systems are loving this new trend because the average salary for a nurse practitioner is about $132,000, where the average primary care doctor salary is about $257,000. So almost double. And if you're thinking about it, like you're in school and you're wanting to go forward, what's the schooling for docs now? Even with a specialty, you're looking at 8 or 12 years, and you're looking at what, 50,000 or more a year, probably. So, I mean, 132,000 for much less education sounds like a pretty good deal if you're looking at getting into healthcare.
Well,
and
it depends on how long you're going to work.
You see a lot of people in the healthcare side of it move from emergency medicine with your paramedics and all move into being, what do they call them, APRNs, technically, advanced practice registered nurses, which are your nurse pracs. And also, in Missouri's like, what is it, 80 or 90% of the rural areas just don't have primary care people. I mean, docs or nurse pracs or whomever.
Yeah, supporters of this expanded scope of practice for nurse practitioners are saying, hey, they, in underserved areas, they expand access to care. But at the same time, physician groups are a little bit opposed, saying that, hey, these guys don't have the same training as us. And we kind of want to maintain our territory. But there was a study cited by the Wall Street Journal that said allowing nurse practitioners this expanded scope of practice saw preventable deaths decline by about 2%, mainly because patients could actually get in to see somebody And I think a lot of people are turning to AI, right? And so if we maybe we'll ask Randy this tomorrow. If we ask him, would you rather your patient go see a nurse practitioner if you're unavailable, or start Googling or chat GPTing their symptoms? I think he'd probably say, I'd rather them see a nurse practitioner, right?
Right.
I know I've got a friend whose daughter is moving from the firefighter emergency medicine side of it to be a nurse prac, but they've got that full practice authority that she told me that both Illinois and Kansas makes it a whole lot more attractive if you're a new nurse practitioner to move to one of those states.
And I would assume that the hours have to be better than if you're you're probably not working nights and holidays and on call as much if you're just a nurse practitioner, right?
Exactly. Unless you do the urgent care routine, which a lot of them are the ones who staff urgent cares.
That's fair. And, we have a lot of rural areas and underserved areas, so it'll be interesting if this type of expanded scope of practice issue comes up in the legislature, as we just concluded one session, but I'm sure there's already conversations about what should be the priorities for next session. Okay, Jen, coming up, should you be mad if other kids are getting extra time for their tests? Apparently, some parents are fuming.
Nation cannot survive if it stops making things. For decades, too many leaders in this country treated American manufacturing like it was dispensable and disposable. They said it was inevitable that our factories would close, inevitable that our jobs would go overseas, inevitable that communities across the Midwest would hollow out while China got richer and America got weaker. Well, President Trump and Vice President Vance rejected that lie.
There was Eric Schmidt at Milbank Manufacturing in Kansas City yesterday in advance of a speech and a visit by J.D. Vance, looking very presidential, I might say. Big event in Kansas City, lots of politicians and folks from Kansas City in attendance. Jennifer, you were there or at one of the events?
Yeah, I was very impressed by J.D. Vance. He's like warm, he's real, he's brilliant. He's really the whole package. So I know there's been a lot of buzz about Rubio doing so well, but when you meet J.D. Vance one-on-one or face-to-face, he's impressive. So I wouldn't rule him out, and neither is Polymarkets, by the way.
A big deal for Missouri. Certainly punching above our weight in Trump 2.0 has its advantages, like visits from the number 2 guy right here in Missouri yesterday. But if you're not sending your kids into the trades and into manufacturing, what we know about college these days, Jen, is it is hyper competitive. And trying to get into some of these elite schools, even with great test scores and a great GPA, can be really difficult. So parents are trying to get their kids an edge.
It's gotten out of control. Like now the messaging is basically to your kids, if your parents haven't figured out how to get you extra time on these tests, they don't really love you. Because so many kids have gotten extra time from everything from ADHD to irritable bowel syndrome, all of these different reasons. And this parent in Virginia is fed up with it. He says he has a podcast. He's a dermatologist, but he devoted 2 episodes to this. His daughter, who got into the University of Virginia, by the way, told him that at least 60 peers received extra time to finish the ACT during their junior year at Jericho High School. And so he doubts the legitimacy of a lot of these kids having reasons for this. And he says it's not preparing them to be tested like under the gun, under the clock. And so he's going off on it. But it is a real issue.
I get feedback from my kids' teachers like, well, they're done early and now they're bothering people. So during the MAP testing, that was my main message to them. It's not a race. Slow down, double check your answers. But these kids are getting, how much extra time do you even get? You get like 15 minutes or you get an extra hour.
Some of them get double time.
Whoa.
Some of them 50% more time. Some of them unlimited.
Fair?
It's not fair. That's the thing. Like if you are diligent and you are going to sit there and check your work, you're going to score a lot higher if you have double the time. But the SAT is like a time pressure that it, especially for reading or whatever, you run out of time. That's kind of the point, is that you're able to do it within the time constraints.
Well, and I don't remember ever having a timing problem with my testing, but it's multiple choice. Like, I feel like on multiple choice, you can definitely talk yourself out of the right answer. I think your gut instinct is always, so if I had more time, I think I'd probably do worse.
Well, LSAT, I remember the logic section on that. I could get them all right, but not within the time allowed. So I just had to practice that section over and over until I could get them all right within the time allowed.
Well, now
but the clock was a big part of that.
Well, and thanks to Gen Z, they've watered down the LSAT so much that they've removed the logic section.
No, they have not.
Yes,
Shut
it's
up.
gone. Yeah, it's gone.
We're raising weaklings.
I know. It's terrible. Well, every time I am frustrated about living in basically a red county, but being kind of still under the thumb of the folks in Columbia and watching them do some pretty crazy things, I can be in a good mood that even though Boone County does stuff I disagree with, it's not San Francisco.
Yes.
Jen, and we talked about it because Columbia, they were talking about increasing, it was about pets. And I think right now you can have unlimited, you can't have unlimited pets, but they were going to increase the fee. And there was some lady because I think you had to pay like $50 for every cat over 6. And she shows up to the Columbia City Council meeting being like, I have 20 cats. This is going to cost me, so much money per year. And I'm like, you should not have 20 cats. But San Francisco is cracking down on pets even more than Boone County.
Yeah,
or
so
City
San
of Columbia.
Francisco, now they want to ban pet owners from being able to, not pet stores from being able to sell live animals. They already can't.
Dead animals only.
Yeah. They already can't sell dogs and cats, but when it comes to like reptiles and hamsters and stuff like that, they do have a series of stores that they're like, this is part of our income stream. They're going to have to push back. But I just remember when I went to San Francisco, I guess it was 2011, I was reading up on what they were up to, and they were looking at banning circumcisions on minors and also banning the sale of goldfish because it's cruel to the goldfish.
Why don't they ban the homeless people in San Francisco?
Good
that
question,
might be a good start.
Todd.
You would think.
So I'm like, what else have they been looking at doing out there? Decriminalizing prostitution, letting non-citizens vote in school board elections, lowering the voting age to 16. They wanted to rename, they voted on this, a sewage plant after George W. Bush. It failed, though. They voted in 2005 on opposing military recruiters in schools, and then in 2008 over banning JROTC. So they're always out there. They wanted to ban handguns, just tax soda, tax vacant apartments, and so at least we're not out in California.
I mean...
And hand out free needles.
I am thankful to live in Missouri, even though...
What do you expect the drug users to buy their own needles, John? I mean, how cold-hearted are you?
That's true.
And they could really use a goldfish to brighten their day, but
we
apparently...
should pay them extra money to keep their own tanks of goldfish on the sidewalk with their dogs.
At least you'd have something nice
What is
to
up
look
with
at.
the dog thing? Like in LA and San Francisco, if the homeless people have dogs, it's like, bro, if you can't manage your own situation and have a house, should you really have a pet? But they're incentivizing it sometimes.
But it's not illegal to have a pet. You just can't buy it. So what, you have to like drive outside of the city to get a pet if you're just like in...
Or the shelters or like those kind of places can still sell dogs if it's not a pet store.
That's crazy. All right, we do have Charlie on the line. He wants to weigh in on kids getting extra time on tests. Charlie, welcome in.
Yes, thank you. And I really, really like you guys.
Oh, thanks.
My daughter, who's 18, is senior in high school. Actually, she just graduated this last Saturday. But she has Crohn's, and she is legitimate. There is times that she just has really been bad and terrible. I mean, it kind of goes in cycles and stuff. And she had gotten, it took us about 3 years to figure out exactly what was really even going on. And we had been missing some school and things, but then got on the 504 program, which kind of gives you some leeway with attendance and things. And we were going for, almost 2 years up to doctors in St. Louis. And then when she turned 18, which just recently, like December, we've got a doctor here in Springfield. And anyway, the extra time is very legitimate in her case.
Well, thank you, Charlie, for your call. You bring up a good point, and we kind of glossed over that. And I think that is my frustration, is that, I've had family members with dyslexia, and certainly it takes them a little bit more time to read through the test questions. And so there are legitimate reasons why people need extra time on tests. I think what the Journal article was pointing out is that people are taking advantage of those existing exceptions just to try to benefit their kids, and essentially, falsifying or faking some of these legitimate reasons to try to garner, an advantage for their kid. And that's wrong. And so I appreciate the insight there, because certainly there are circumstances, and that's why they exist, right? That's why we have these rules in place, because there are legitimate circumstances in which people do need extra time just to compete on an equal playing field. So thanks, Charlie.
Yeah, if something like Crohn's, that's a condition that you're not going to get diagnosed like where some people might have one standard and some people may have another to diagnose it, and then you get the extra time. But ADHD, a little bit of a different ballgame there.
For sure. We hate seeing people take advantage of the systems that are in place and the government
But
doesn't
then at
do...
one point, if everyone's doing it, are you doing a disservice to your kid by not playing that game? Like, don't hate the player, hate the game.
That's a fair question. Well, also, it's not a feel-good Friday today, but I am feeling good about some news we got yesterday in that the Republicans changed the rules so that they could push through a bunch of Trump appointees yesterday. So we got Billy Long confirmed as the ambassador to Iceland, and we got Matt Price, our U.S. attorney
for the Western District,
confirmed yesterday.
He was riding around with J.D. Vance yesterday because I guess when a president or vice president or even former presidents come to town, the U.S. attorney rides around with the Secret Service in case they need legal advice.
Oh.
Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting. Well,
and so I guess Bush and Clinton came in for something, so he did it then, and then he did it again yesterday.
Wow. That's pretty fantastic. I can't wait to talk to him and get his read on it yesterday. Of course, we had that
for his confirmation.
Yes. Congratulations to both Matt Price and Billy Long on their confirmations. We are going to head into leftovers next. So we will be right back on Wake Up Missouri with Stephanie and Jennifer before we get to the Gary Nolan Show. So stick around.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
having to fact check myself, but I think I conflated these two things earlier. Columbia residents will vote on a 1% public safety sales tax in August, and also the Boone County Commission will hear a proposal for a sales tax to fund a new jail. So, we'll be monitoring those, and I'm sure Mike Murphy at the Drive at 5 will have the latest updates for you Eagle listeners, so be sure and tune into that because they had a busy council meeting in Columbia yesterday. John, what's on your list of leftovers?
This is a good one. Columbia police now say a break-in and vandalism at Art Underground downtown over the weekend was not exactly hard to trace. One of Columbia's homeless residents, we should call him an urban outdoorsman, 29-year-old Justin Murphy, left his personal Google account open on the owner's laptop. Police found him a short time later on East Broadway wearing a stolen Art Underground t-shirt.
Oh, my goodness. Well, we were talking about the body found in the roll cart, and someone texted that maybe there's like a code on there that gives away whose roll cart it was. And I would think at the very least, if you would need to throw your trash out, so maybe you stole the roll cart, but maybe you also called to get a new roll cart. And
does everyone get one or two roll carts?
You only get one.
Huh.
They say the way it works on the way Columbia provides the roll carts and tracks them, they say they track the serial number to a certain address, not a person, but a certain address.
Well, that's a big lead.
Yeah, maybe we can solve this murder right here on Wake Up Missouri. But again, if you missed that story, a body was found in near the mouth of the Missouri River in Perchie Creek.
Kind of out by McBain is where that is, where the Perchie Creek river access is.
Now, Drake is really fired up, not only about the pet policy in San Francisco, but also apparently about the NBA. Did I miss something?
Oh, yeah. We had possibly the game of the year last night.
Oh, man. On fire.
San Antonio, OKC, Oklahoma City, they had an 8-game winning streak. Or actually, it was 9. They swept 2 teams in the playoffs, which is insane. And they lost last night in double overtime to San Antonio.
That's pretty fun.
No, it was awesome.
And now you're going to get canceled. So sorry, Drake, this will be your last day on Wake Up Missouri because he's agreeing with San Francisco city leaders. Is that what you're going to tell me? Okay.
I am. I do actually kind of like this policy, the banning pet stores from selling pets. It's mostly to combat the puppy mills and all of that. Plus, it forces you to buy from 2 other places, either actual dog breeders, which usually are, I wouldn't say necessarily more humane, but you have more of an investment in it. So it's not like your kids going to the pet store with $100 they saved up for their birthday to buy a dog that they're not ready to take care of, along with adults who can't take care of them and just making an impulsive decision or adopting, which gets more dogs off the street. So I don't necessarily dislike this
Drake
policy.
here for the big pet lobby, apparently.
No, it's the animal rights activist that I'm agreeing with.
Oh, okay. Well, you're canceled.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to, and on that note, we have to bring Drake in when it rains or he smells really bad.
That's why I have my own studio, Marsh.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Jen, what's on your list of leftovers?
Well, Don Jr. and Bettiana Anderson are going to get married this weekend. This just broke.
What marriage is this for Don Jr.?
2. This is the second.
2.
He was engaged to Guilfoyle for a while, but they never tied the knot.
Now isn't she the ambassador somewhere?
To Greece.
Yeah.
She is. Yeah, but so they had planned a White House wedding, but due to the Iran war, they decided it wouldn't be in the right taste to do that. And as the Iran war has dragged on, they decided to go ahead and pull the knot, ditching the White House extravaganza for a more private ceremony in the Bahamas this coming weekend. So it looks like this Bettiana Anderson, she's getting along with his ex-wife, Vanessa, who's down there with all their 5 kids, including the golf prodigy, Kai Trump. She seems to be getting along with Ivanka and Tiffany and beautiful. It looks like things are going swimmingly with that crew down there. So congrats to them. I hope they have pictures because I want to see what everyone's wearing.
Same. I'm obsessed with wedding wear and wedding photos.
And this gal knows how to dress. Ivanka, obviously, fashion icon. Yeah, I want to see what they're wearing. And I wonder if DJT and Melania go.
And now, you have to watch all of the outfits because, of course, they'll have, a pre-party with the outfit. Then they'll have the wedding outfit. Then they'll have the dance outfit. And then the leaving outfit.
Their outfits at the shower a couple of weeks ago were super cute.
Oh, I'm
Ivanka
excited.
threw her a shower.
John, you're going to be waiting with bated breath to see what everyone wears, right?
Sort of like the Met Gala.
I don't think they're.
This is like, I'm more into this than I am to whatever basketball team y'all were just talking about.
So what's next?
Thunder and the Spurs.
So what's next with the NBA?
So tonight, the Cavaliers and the New York Knicks are going to play, and then it goes back to San Antonio, OKC. So it's going to alternate until both series are done.
I also saw in sports news yesterday, I don't even know what team it was, but apparently Tarps Off is spreading to other teams. Did you see this?
St. Louis Battlehawks.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah,
so
in the
it's staying
Cardinals.
local. Okay, yeah. I like it. All right, that's all for sports news from Stephanie today. I just watched Twitter sports news. But up next, we are going to have Gary Nolan, our favorite libertarian. You're going to want to stay tuned for that. And, of course, Jennifer will be making an appearance on The Gary Nolan Show.
10:30.
All right, 10:30. Stay tuned.